Hey everybody, what's up? My name is AussieBrony, and today I'll be continuing the story I'm currently reading, The Changeling and the Pony. This story is by the Nine-Tard. If you want to read this yourself, you can. The Nine-Tard is his name, or her, I'm not really sure. It's not a very um obvious name to which gender, I don't know. Anyway, that's what their name is on fanfiction.net. So if you want to check the story out yourself, you can. Um, so yeah. Um, I don't really think there's anything else to say, so I'll get into it. So yeah, I'm gonna start the recording of me reading it now. It was several tense seconds of silence before Chrysalis lunged at Darkhorn. The smaller changeling rounded out of the way and skidded to the side, in time for his chest to be rammed by her head. Darkhorn let out a pained gasp as he was thrown onto his side. He saw his mother rear to stomp him with her sharp hooves. Panicking, he rolled away just in time for her hooves to hit the ground. Once they did, he jumped to his feet and spun around, kicking her front legs away with his back legs. She toppled over, surprised, and he jumped onto her flank, trying to pin her down. When she squirmed, Darkhorn began to yell, "Surrender, mother! I don't want to hurt you." "Never!" She pulled her right leg back and tried to kick him in the face. Darkhorn pulled his head to the side to prevent him from being kicked in, but the sharp hook nicked his right cheek, leaving a big gash. His green blood splattered onto his neck, and he gave a short cry, distracting him long enough for Chrysalis to throw him off. He nearly tumbled, but he found his balance and began to block away her attacks. They fought for several minutes, sweating and getting tired. Chrysalis was stronger and more experienced than Darkhorn, but he was putting up a fight. More than a fight. He was battling like a dragon. Every hit, every scratch he got, he would only fight back harder. She had no idea how he'd gotten so strong. Where in the world had this strength come from? It couldn't possibly from the love. It couldn't possibly be love giving him this strength, could it? Barry looked to the others. "Are we actually going to sit here and let him get killed?" "We don't have a choice," Twilight mumbled. "If we interfere, we'll all be captured and Fluttershy will be doomed." "Can't you just use your magic to teleport us out of here?" Applejack protested, not able to keep her green eyes off the brutal scene. Wait, Applejack has green eyes? Huh. Twilight sighed. "If I concentrated enough, maybe. But I can't. You all know even if I do, she'll just find us again. This is the only way, and Darkhorn knows it." Even after everything, Twilight was surprised to find a rising feeling in her chest. She felt sympathy towards the Changeling. It wasn't just because he was fighting to save Fluttershy, but he knew that even if he won, he'd be trapped here. Yet he still fought. It was admirable, and something she'd never thought a monster like him could ever be capable of. She bit her lip, choking back these rising feelings of guilt. Internally, even when she went with him to go save Fluttershy, she was hoping something bad would happen to Darkhorn because of what he did to Fluttershy. and she knew she wasn't the only one who thought that. How she had forgotten the lesson How had she forgotten the lesson she had previously learned never to judge a book by its cover? She looked to her friends and around her. They were watching the fight with the same amount of pity. Whatever they were feeling before this, their thoughts had to be similar to hers. Don't get hurt. The surrounding changelings could feel the concern coming from these ponies, and it only confused them. Are they really worried about one of their own? Finally, she got tired enough to make a misstep. Changeling, no, wait, I'm saying Changeling. Chrysalis took advantage of this and kicked him in the chest with her hooves, hard enough to scratch and crack the bug-like shell on his surface. Bleeding from the wound, he fell onto his back but moved out of the way when she tried to pin him down herself. Rearing up, he tried to kick her with his own front hooves, but she knocked him back with her arm, I don't know, and tried to ram him with her head and I don't know really what that word is. He avoided her horn by jumping to the side and kicked with his back legs, smacking her in the side with the side of the jaw. Chrysalis cried in pain this time and stumbled a bit, her lip cut and bleeding and temporarily dazed. He took the opportunity to kick her again and knock her down. She stumbled and fell, more out of exhaustion than anything. When she tried to get back up, Darkhorn was at her front and spat out green sticky slime from his mouth, pinning her front legs to the grass. When she struggled, Darkhorn was pushed against her throat. His horn was pushed against her throat. All the changelings around seemed to hold their breaths, knowing what he could do at any moment. Darkhorn and Chrysalis were both panting, exhausted. His very sharp horn was still pressed against her neck, but he knew he had won. They were both bruised and covered in scratches, but he had won. She waited with tensed muscles and hateful eyes towards his actions, knowing she had lost. Darkhorn let out a growl. I win, mother. His words weren't filled with hate, but anger. Even so, I could double-cross your words and slit your throat with my horn right now. Pinky cried out loudly behind him. I can't watch! And she put her hooves over her eyes. Darkhorn rolled his icy eyes and looked back at Chrysalis with a furious gaze. Still, I won't. I won't betray any more. Or any pony. Not even you. Wait, no, technically she's not the term isn't really any pony. It's wouldn't it be any changeling or something? I don't know. Really, it's any one if you're talking about a different, like multiple. Oh, I don't know. Not even you. Because as much as I hate you, I still love you, mother. Wait, how does that work? Then again. Yeah. He backed away. Now let them go. She gritted her teeth, bit with all eyes around her, grudgingly agreed. Oh, but with all eyes on her. It just says bit. Yeah. Her horn glowed on the cocoon above them. Her horn glowed, and the cocoon above them detached from the branches, gently fell. The branches lowered and gently fell into the middle of the clearing. The other mares ran from their position to the cocoon, and Darkhorn turned to them, away from Chrysalis. Twilight moved to the cocoon, and with Rarity's help, quickly sliced it open with her magic. Once the thicker layer was opened, green ooze spilled out onto the grass and made Rarity hop back and yelp. Applejack and Rapidash had to pull the sides open enough for Darkhorn to gain access. He reached his arms into the goo until he wrapped them around something solid, but she was too deep inside. Pinkie Pie, help me out! Pinkie Pie, help me pull her out! Pinkie obliged and wrapped her arms around his torso, tugging. They managed to heave Fluttershy out of the slime and onto the grass, practically collapsing on him. Not caring about the goo at all, he began to wipe it off her face. He began trying to wipe it off her face. Oh, yeah. Fluttershy's friends gathered around in a small group. Fluttershy, Twilight started. Come on, Fluttershy, wake up! Come on, wake up! The girl started to shake her and say her name, but no one could get aroused from her. Darkhorn hugged her to him, scared, but nobody was unresponsive. But her body was unresponsive. Wake up, he whispered. Please wake up. Several minutes passed. The changelings only watched in silence. The mares began to cry. Pinkie looked to the others. She's going to be alright, right? And she's going to be okay, right? Right? Wake up, Rainbow Dash yelled. Darn it, Fluttershy, wake up! Please. That isn't going to help any, Pony, Rarity yelled, equally upset. It isn't going to help. The changeling holding her let a few tears squeeze through as he held her to his chest. Please, please, was all he could say. She shifted in his arms. Who's crying? He gasped and held her out to look at her fluttering blue eyes. Those beautiful cyan eyes. Cyan, I mean. She blinked at him, dazed and confused, then weakly smiled. Hey, Darkhorn. Why aren't you in your disguise? She then looked up to her friends. There were tears in their eyes, but were now smiling. Oh, hey guys. She wiggled a bit. What happened? Where am I? And she looked down at herself and realized she was covered in slime. What is this? She was surprised when the girls cheered and Darkhorn pulled her into a tight hug. Thank Equestria you're alive. And you were alive. She heard him whisper into her ear. Realization slapped her like a brick and she did a loud gasp. Darkhorn! Chrysalis! Changeling Nest! I was taken and trapped and now, my friends, you're not hidden. You're expert. He interrupted her with a brush of his fangs against her forehead, the changeling version of a kiss. They know, Shy. They know everything. He released her and sadly began to walk backwards away from them. And now, you're free to go back home, and I must stay in mine. Fluttershy looked confused. Well, what's he talking about? She looked to her friends, and Twilight said in a sympathetic tone, the deal was if he won his fight against Chrysalis, we would go, but he would stay for punishment. What? The yellow Pegasus tried to jump onto her feet, but wobbled a bit and had to be supported by Twilight. You can't do this, Darkhorn. He shook his head and looked away from her, refusing to see her cry. Fluttershy, don't make this hard. But I loved you, she whispered. Oh, whispered her. Oh well. He looked to her sympathy in his icy cold gaze of immense sorrow. I love you too, he choked. I wish I could stay. I wish I could go with you, but I'm bound to my word now. Understand? Fluttershy was about to protest more, but a giggle came from the Queen. Wait, giggle? Doesn't really say. Well, I don't know. A giggle came from the Changeling Queen. As cute as this all is, she ripped her feet free of Darkhorn's trap and lunged at him from behind. Before anybody could react, She bit into the back of his neck. He cried in pain, and the mares cried in surprise, as the changeling was thrown by Chrysalis onto his back. Paralysed from her poison, hit him hard and was unable to move. He was sprawled out on the grass and could only gasp in short breaths of agony. He was now unable to protect anybody. Fluttershy cried out and was immediately at his side, barely able to stand herself. He looked to them and barely was able to talk. I'm sorry, he breathed. I should have known. Chrysalis laughed loudly and sneered at the two. Fool! Did you really think I would let you go that easily? No, I was never going to. But my son was so blinded by the love he couldn't see through the deception. She smiled. And now you're all going to stay here. Forever. No, Darkhorn rasped. He tried with all his might to move, but as if his body was made of lead and wouldn't respond. Chrysalis started to walk towards them. But don't worry, my traitorous child, because you did beat me. I'll reward you with a quick death. Fluttershy stood, but her legs were shaking. Get away from him! I won't let you! Chrysalis smiled down at the weak pony, knowing she could be crushed easily. Chrysalis pushed Fluttershy down against Darkhorn's immobile body. Then you can watch up close. The pony pinned herself over Darkhorn, trying to protect him with her own body. Before the Queen got closer, Applejack suddenly stood in front of the two. Hold it, partner, she scrawled. You ain't touching either of 'em while I'm here. Yes, you get your beastly self away from them. Rarity stood next to Applejack. You won't dare harm a hair on their heads. Or shells. And you're going to have to put me down if you want to hurt them. Put me down if you want to hurt them too. Rapidash zoomed to their side and raised her front hooves in a boxing motion. Back off or I'll bust you up. Pinky joined them, imitating Rabadash's boxing move. Yeah, we'll bust you up, the action made Rainbow Dash huff. Then lastly Twilight stood in front of the group, her horns surrounded by a purple glow. Touch any of them and I'll turn you into a frog. Fluttershy and Darkhorn couldn't believe it. They were going to protect him, a changeling. Even Twilight was standing up for him. Chrysalis backed away slightly, knowing full well she couldn't take them all on. Letting a smile slip, she looked to the others and said in a loud tone, Minions! Put them in cocoons just like the Pegasus before. The ponies looked around expecting to break into a big fight, just like Canterlot. Instead, something else happened. The minions shifted and looked to each other, but none moved a muscle. They appeared to be in conflict. The changeling queen, can't talk. The queen looked at them in bewilderment. Minions! Did you not hear me? I said put them in cocoons! The group still didn't move, but instead turned their blue blank eyes accusingly to their mother. Furious, Chrysalis looked to the female changeling before them. Apprehend them now! Enough, the changeling yelled at her. She walked over to the ponies and stood next to them. Enough. She looked to her mother. Darkhorn's right. We're dying, and it's because of you. The queens and the broods before us didn't always steal love anyway. It was only when you were bred to be our queen did we start to suffer. We're the last brood of changelings in this hive, and we're dying because of the hate in your heart. She sighed slowly, the expression on her brothers and sisters reflecting her pain. Mother, just leave. Go. Go away and don't come back. It's what's best for the hive. Chrysalis began to growl and her horn glowed. What? You dared betray me as well? I'll destroy you too. Really, Mother? She frowned and stomped her hoof. Can you really take us all on? The whole hive? When she said that, the other changelings began to stalk closer, furious and driven to survive. Fear taking her, the queen backed down, her horn dimming. The female changeling looked to Darkhorn. First you're going to free the poison from his body. Then I'm going to give you one more chance to walk from the hive, Mother. Chrysalis began to hiss, but the changeling ordered, Now! Not having any choice, she looked to the ponies and snarled, You'll pay for this. She glanced coldly to Fluttershy. All of you. Her horn flashed, and the glow covered Darkhorn and disappeared. What? Oh. He moved his stiff muscles, sore but no longer paralyzed, and sat up. Once he was better, the light enveloped Queen Chrysalis and she disappeared from sight, gone from the hive forever. The female changeling turned to Darkhorn and helped him up. You all right, brother? He nodded, amazed at what had just taken place. Yes. You exiled Mother. She shrugged. It had to be done. With her, the hive was doomed, and your friends helped us save us just now. Fluttershy rushed. Fluttershy rushed up to him and nuzzled his hard chest, to which he moaned a bit because of the wound. He didn't care though, and rested his chin on her head, smiling and relieved. I'm so happy you're okay, she muttered. He rubbed his head against hers. I feel the same way about you. Daw! They turned to see Pinkie Pie looking at them with puppy eyes. They giggled a bit and backed away from each other with the mares around them, happy everything was settled. Darkhorn's expression then fell. But I still have to be with them. But why? Applejack moved to him. I thought everything was fine. He sadly shook his head. No, it isn't. We have no queen, no leader. Actually, brother, we can survive, the female changeling interrupted. It won't be easy, but we'll survive. Along the way a new queen will be born, or maybe there's already one among us. She walked away from them. We'll stay here in these parts of the Everfree Forest. The love we had for each other, as minuscule as we changelings can feel, will keep us alive. And maybe someday the ponies will be able to trust us too. She weakly smiled to them. It's a small chance, and it might take years, but it's still a chance. And the bond between you and these ponies, Darkhorn, I know it's possible. He nodded, but kept his solemn gaze. But how can I go back? He looked to the group. I'm just an ugly duckling, guys. I could never live with. Fluttershy leaned forward and kissed his cheek. You're not a duckling. You're a swan. You deserve to be happy. Ugly duckling. Reference. Obviously. I think that's. Yeah, that's right. I remember earlier in the story. She nuzzled him. Come back, please. It won't be the same without you. Oh, I just opened Skype. Oops. I meant to bring up Audacity. Oops. Close. Go away, Skype. No! Go away, Skype. Thank you. He smiled at her and looked to the other girls. They were smiling at him awkwardly, and it was Twilight who said, It really wouldn't be. Happiness swelled inside his chest as Fluttershy's given love restored him, making him feel as if he was on air. Happier than he ever would be, He graciously bowed his head. Thank you. I'll stay. With you, all of you. Fluttershy happily nuzzled up against him. He looked to the female changeling. Are you sure you'll be okay, sister? Yeah, we will. She smiled at him. You know, now that I really think about it, it's a little annoying not having a name. Instead about how you guys call me Sire. I think that's what it says. She smiled. Yes, Sire. I like that name. She nodded to them. If you ever need us, any of you, you know where to find us. The changelings of Dragonfly Hive are now your allies, and we will protect you from Queen Chrysalis. Darkhorn and the others smiled at her, and the Dragonfly Hive happy to be together again. Dragonfly. Yeah. Chrysalis could have never won. It was shining armors and cadences love that defeated her before. Now it was the love Darkhorn had for Fluttershy that drove him on. Without it, he would have never been their friend and drained her into a he would never have been their friend and drained her into a husk, just like he had done so many times before. The kindness that only she could spot within him had blossomed, and it truly changed his heart. Two completely different worlds had just become a little less different, and it was all because of the love between a changeling and a pony. Hey every I hope you enjoyed that. That is actually almost everything left in the story. There's not many. There's only 15 chapters, and it's getting quite I can't talk. It's getting quite awesome at the end. So yeah, this is yeah. Once again, this story was The Changeling and the Pony by the Nine Tard on fanfiction.net. If you want to read it yourself, you can go look at it. This is the only pony related story they've done. But if you want to go look at their other 3 stories, I haven't personally looked at them, but if you want, you can. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed, and if you want, that is. Starting to sound like Fluttershy. If that's okay with you. So yeah. Go if you want to vote on what the next story I read will be. So far it's 1 to past sins and nothing for any others. Go back to, I don't know what episode it was. Hold on. I believe it was 9 or something. I don't know. It was an earlier episode. You're just gonna have to look because I can't remember. And vote and just read the description of that episode and vote going by what it says. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. See you later, every pony. I'll be uploading the rest of these chapters every day, I hope. So yeah, see you later.